Hello everyone, welcome to Rethinking the X-Files. I'm Elton, and I'm down in the depths of the FBI, along with my good friend, Mr. Scott Copperman. How are you, Scott?
I'm very good, not so down in the depths. I'm kind of surface level here, cruising and waiting to discuss what was a pretty good episode. A change of speed, change of pace, a lot of things to talk about, I think, this week.
Oh yeah, definitely. Wow, have you got a horse in your room?
I do. I have a horse in my room. Actually, I was just thinking, I wonder if you'll hear my computer in the background, and I think you will, so I'll have to...
Wow.
Let me see if I can mute it in some way. That wasn't me. That was you.
Yeah, that was my phone going off. Yeah, it must be like Skinner or someone like that requesting my...
You know what? It's the old America Online Instant Messenger, and I guess someone has it, like, it makes announcements when they come on. There must be some default sound. It's like a little ping or something, but people can customize it.
Yeah.
And I haven't figured out who it is, but there's some... I'll put friend in finger quotes that I have that has that horse sound. And it's like, oh my God, what is that? But I was afraid to mute it because I thought I might lose you, but it sounds like it's all under control now. So we can do take 3 now if we're ready.
No, I'm just going to carry on. No, yeah, that's good. I'm good with that.
That sounds good.
Okay, so we're here to talk about Founders Mutation, Season 10, Episode 2. I'll give you the synopsis that the IMDb page gives us. It says, a scientist working for the DOD commits suicide. Mulder and Scully start an investigation only to discover a secret mutation experiment. What did you think? What were your first impressions of this episode? Bearing in mind, we've just come off the premiere, and this was aired a day later. So you're kind of in the zone for the X-Files, in the mood for them as well. So I suppose that would encourage people to get into this.
Well, I was struck immediately by the change of format. I wasn't completely caught off guard by it because I know that's part of the style of the show, the Monster of the Week. But there was almost this feeling like, did I miss episode 1.5 somewhere in the middle? Because I can't tell you how much time has passed since episode 1. I'm guessing more than a month, but less than a year. I don't know. Things feel relatively settled and in a flow in the lives of Mulder and Scully, and they're back in the X-Files division. The several key characters from the first episode were non-existent in this one, not referenced in any way. They call it a standalone episode, and I could see many, many elements of that. I was pleased, though, to have that mythology element, that you can make a connection to the first episode, and I can kind of see, I think, where they're going with this 6-episode run. But I wouldn't say that I disliked it. It was entertaining, but it threw me. I'll put it that way. I was not expecting this drastic change of pace. Okay.
See, I was given the impression it was around about a month or so after what had happened in the premiere. I didn't feel like a long period had gone past. Obviously, they've all had psych analysis before they've gone back into the FBI. They're not just going to open their arms and welcome them in, give them a badge and send them on their way, are they? But I feel a little bit of time has passed. But this episode, with it being a Monster of the Week episode, the way I relayed it, it still had that mythology that flowed through it. But I felt when I first saw the guys on the screen, the X-Files is here, I'm in the X-Files, and they both just seemed to click so well they're kind of back in their old groove. It was Mulder and Scully that I was watching on the screens, and I felt so at home and just so happy. And even with the preamble that they had before the credits, that scene, it's just, this was X-Files, but it has been ramped up and brought back into the the 20 teens, and it felt so current, and yet it was still the old show, and I was so happy for that.
Yeah, I could definitely feel that original series run vibe. If not for a couple of somewhat blatant references to the year and the modernness of a lot of things in the episode.
Oh yeah,
It definitely felt like it could have been from season 5, season 4. You know, it had that same flow. But I was I've watched it a couple times, as we mentioned. I was struck though, like as I'm sitting here going, so we're not going to mention at all what happened at the end of the previous episode. We're not going to mention. Um, it took a while to see the connection because you didn't really get the reveal of the founder's work being on taking babies and mutating them and possibly leading to what might have happened to Scully's baby. You didn't get that right away. It took, what do you say, about a third of the episode?
Oh, easy.
To really get in there. So for a while, it felt like, okay, so we're here. You hope there's going to be a connection, but it felt much more like it could be a completely independent episode until we hit that.
Yeah, I agree. It was around about the third part of this episode that it really ramped up and took its own form. It was really more of an investigation getting up to that point, which I thoroughly enjoyed.
Yes.
There were some really good shots in this movie. It almost felt like a TV movie to me. But there was some really, really good shots in there. The lighting was really good. It was nice and clean, but the light, I don't know what it was. It felt very clean. Maybe I'm used to watching the X-Files on VHS or the old DVDs, which haven't been cleaned up, and now watching it in the HD, as Mr. Jim Moon would say, pin sharp crikey vision. And it's, whoa, these colours are really good and really contrast really, really well. I'll give you an example. When they're in I can't remember his name now. The scientist's room, when they went to his true address, and then you saw the police lights outside.
Mm-hmm.
The
Sanjay,
the real red and blues flashing in the window. It was very, very vibrant, and it just felt, oh, that's so crisp and clear, and it's new X-Files, and I'm really enjoying it. So yeah, I'm all on board with this already. I'm disappointed that 2 episodes are already down, and that we've only got 4 left to go.
I agree with the visual aspect of it, because I actually thought you were going to mention when they were in the hospital. I felt like the color scheme, the palette, I guess they say.
Yeah.
Everything was very appropriate, and it had a different feel, maybe because the first episode was so dark and there were so many special effects kind of integrated into the video that maybe we were able to have just more pure footage, more cinematography emphasis in this episode. And we were talking originally about first impressions, and I mentioned to you I've actually watched it a couple times because I felt like I was missing something, and I was pleased that in a rewatch today, that things that I was a little puzzled by and I wasn't sure about kind of fell into place, and it did give me what I had mentioned in our last episode I wanted to see from a show like this, that I wanted it to be seeds planted along the way that maybe you missed, and then when you get to the very end, you could have connected the dots had you caught things like the boy Kyle. There were a couple of scenes early on in that first third, which, as I said, we didn't feel like we were really into the mythology yet. I wasn't sure where this episode was going. I can look back now and see scenes in that first third that I kind of felt like were gratuitous. We didn't even really need to have. And now I realize, well, we were seeing Kyle as a janitor brushing up against Mulder, and we needed to have the scene with Gupta to kind of advance information in the story. There were different things that had come up that, at first glance, I was kind of wondering why we went through it, and then by the end of the episode, I felt they definitely contributed in a big way.
Oh yeah. Were there any scenes that really impressed you in this episode?
Well, from a little wink kind of thing, I don't know if you caught in the hospital when, let's see, this would be, so Agnes was asking Mulder and Scully to help her get out, and then she, oh, never mind, I'm just kidding, and Mulder gives her his card.
Mm-hmm.
And on the TV in the background is a scene from Planet of the Apes where the ape family has just had a baby. It's the one, I think, where they're living. I thought it was a clever little... they could have put anything on the TV. I thought that was a clever choice of what to have on in the background for that scene.
I knew there was a TV in the background. I wasn't looking at it. Damn, why wasn't I looking at that? They always put stuff in the background for that.
Yep.
Oh, man. Good catch.
I liked that. And then there's the scene where they are in the hallway talking to one of the patients, and Molly is being restrained, and it's all the time I have for you. So the founder dismisses Mulder and Scully, and we see Molly kind of thrashing, and she's put in the cell. Her look immediately reminded me of the daughter in The Incredibles. And then toward the end of the episode, where we see her with Kyle through the glass.
Yep.
To me, she's, if you were going to make a live action version of The Incredibles, you would want to cast her as the daughter. She just had that same hair, the same look on her face, the same body language, and then she has apparently like a telekinetic power too. So I don't know if that's an intentional nod or if that's, the way writers think of emotionally challenged teens with telekinetic powers, that they're going to look like that instead of Sue Storm and
right.
brooding.
I'm sure every teenager would like this sort of
Yes.
superpower anyway, wouldn't they? I'm sure my kids would have used it against me many times today, possibly.
But visually, she reminded me of that, and I was struck overall by the two. For some reason, I kept thinking of Quicksilver and the Scarlet Witch from the Avengers, and they weren't used in that way, but maybe it's because that's how I had been led to believe they were going to be used in the Avengers movie, that they were, which movie are they the part of? Winter Soldier, I guess. At the end of Winter Soldier, you see Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch being experimented on by the Baron.
Okay.
In the post-credit scene, that's kind of the tease for, like, they're being introduced to become part of the Avengers movie, Avengers 2 movie. And for some reason, when I saw Kyle and Molly, it made me think of them in some way. Right.
Their connection together. See, the thing is, I haven't seen that movie, so are they working together, or?
Well, there's kind of an us against the world element.
Oh, okay.
But which movie have you not seen, just as a side note? Captain America, Winter Soldier, or Avengers?
It's easier if I tell you what films I have seen.
Oh, really?
Yes. And I think it's just the Avengers. And the Captain one, the first one, which I thought was terrible. But please don't shoot me for that.
That's all right.
I'm going to get onto my scene instead of embarrassing myself
Go
with
ahead.
Marvel movies.
No, that's fine.
I suppose one of the scenes that stuck out to me was the very first scene, because we've the last episode we were introduced to the X-Files, and there was a big alien element in it, and the first shot you see is an eyeball which is bloodshot.
Mm-hmm.
And very, very dark. And straight away you think, oh, is that the black oil or the black goo that they have flowing all the way through these seasons? And so straight away you think, okay, this could be a continuation of last week's story, where it really is. I think it's more the corruption of the DOD and the cover-up which is going on, not aliens per se, which is the flowing message through these 2 episodes.
Yes.
But it was just so striking just to see that eye there, and it was done really well, where you had the scan on there, and the scan brought up a nice clear picture of the eye, but it just displayed this dude is either messed up in some alien DNA kind of way, or he's been through some sort of ordeal, which he's trying to hide, and he's relaying that to his colleague, which he's talking to as well.
Yes.
And I just thought I was done really, really well. But oh, go on. Sorry.
I was gonna say, yeah, I tend to take that bloodshot eye as a sign of internal distress. You know, that those are the characters whose brains are overheating, or blood's going to be coming out of their ears or nose any minute. And he did seem troubled, and then we found that he was having those attacks, those sonar attacks on his head.
Oh man, do you know what that reminded me of?
No, go ahead.
I have slight tinnitus from when I used to be in bands and playing lots of loud music. And whenever it's dead quiet in my room, laying there, and you can't hear anything, all I can hear is that sort of whistling noise. Mm-hmm. And it just, made me feel very, very uncomfortable about that. And which is a good thing. It was just so raw and so penetrating, that noise, and so it's as if the sound has been designed by someone who has tinnitus and knows how shockingly bad that can be at certain times. Now I'm the old man who goes to a gig and puts ear defenders in and just looks a bit silly, and all the other kids are bouncing around with no ear defenders, and yeah, look, we got perfect ears, look at us, we don't care, in the morning our ears won't be ringing, and there's me just with my ringing ears. So yeah, I could relate to that. That was the way that they acted that out with Mulder and was it Sanjay his name was? Dr. Sanjay?
Dr. Sanjay, yep.
I can see why he took a letter opener to himself. That was grim. That was really grim. I don't know if you noticed, when he put the letter opener into his ear, and he pushed it in about an inch first, and the sounds changed ever so slightly, but it was the sounds, but then it was more of a static sound, and then sliding that, I know it sounds horrible, but I can hear you cringing already.
Yes.
As he slid it in, as shall we say, the sounds and everything just going dead all of a sudden, and oh man, that was so well done.
Yep, and then Scully taking it out, that was another cringe moment. She pulls it out. Ugh.
Oh,
see,
yeah.
at first I thought it was like a mental attack, like and especially he was hearing the voices. I thought of it as like telepathy. And again, thinking like superheroes and such. The birds threw me, because obviously that was supposed to be like a sound related issue, and I just took a little while for me to kind of piece together that it was true. It was real sound. It wasn't something mentally directed at him. And there were some elements about that power, though, that I still am just trying to get my hands around. Like, apparently Kyle manifested that when he wanted his mother to release him from the womb. And you see her writhing in the street, and you know, I knew what I must do, and they show the incision she
Yeah.
makes and the hands crawling out like a 80s horror movie.
Yeah, but by the way, if nobody likes, if the people that are listening to this that don't like knives against skin or anything like that, you picked the wrong episode to watch.
Yes. So, and I can kind of understand that if it was mental, then you can communicate concepts. So you have an unborn child that can convey pain and desire and love, and so whatever she knew what it wanted. But it was then presented not that way. It was low frequency sound. And so I'm just not sure how to take that. And then I understand too, he can't really control it. So he's not intending it to be a weapon. He's trying to communicate and doing collateral damage, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
But I'll be interested to see if they develop that. Like, obviously, Molly has a greater control of her powers. She's flipping her wrist, and Scully's flying across the room, and this lights her. She's doing whatever she wants intentionally, and Kyle seems to just be kind of full of power. But I'm not sure.
Yeah, so it all stems from this guy called Augustus Goldman.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as his name was mentioned in the boardroom when Dr. Sanjay was starting to have his attack, and I thought the attack that he was having, it was more of Kyle directing that at whoever he wanted to have the attack. He could just visualize and bang, I want you to be crippled with pain. I want you to be writhing around, or do as I say, please.
They made it appear he has to be within a certain distance.
Mm.
That's why he's in the building dressed as a janitor. That's why he's near Mulder when he's suffering. He runs out, he almost gets hit by the car, and then I guess he's in the building. Yeah,
you have to really catch that to see him nearly get hit by the car. I know it's a tropey way of bringing him into the forefront of our story, but I nearly missed it.
But so he is trying to get Dr. Sanjay to do something, and I guess he's trying to get him to take the files off the computer. Do you suppose that's to help him locate Molly, or was he trying to expose something? That kind of was a dead end. Whatever Dr. Sanjay did was a failure, other than getting X-Files' attention, which I don't think was the overall intent.
Well, Kyle was upstairs, wasn't he?
Yes.
He was in the room above him. He was obviously giving Dr. Sanjay orders to take information off of their database.
So what did he said, do it now, go now.
Yeah.
He said to Mulder, find her.
He said to Mulder, help me find her.
Oh, okay.
And I'm assuming that he was telling Dr. Sanjay to take all the details off, because he was upstairs near a computer.
Yes.
And so maybe he could access the files that he was taking off from that computer upstairs, which would give him the location of Molly.
But he said he didn't want to kill him. It wasn't trying to kill him. He was helping him.
Yeah. I don't think he had the intention of actually killing him. I think he just wanted the files, and he wanted them quicker and quicker. And maybe with the people trying to get into that room that Dr. Sanjay had locked himself in, that caused more stress than he could actually deal with. And so the orders would get louder and louder in his head, and his stress and anxiety would build up, and it's just a horrible spiral that he's never going to get out of unless he puts a letter opener in his ear.
Oh, jeez.
Every now and again I get like an itch in my ear. Just use a letter opener.
Yeah.
Don't do that, kids. That's bad. But then he's not able to get that information, so his next way of getting it is Mulder, which I thought was a very clever way. And the way that they shot with Mulder, and the slow motion piercing of the sound through his head, and the sweat dropping off of his face, and the help me find her. I thought that was really clever. But yet, at that point, we still don't really know what is going on.
Do you think Kyle knows Goldman is his father?
Oh, I don't...
Because he said his mother told him to do these things, meaning the one who's in the institution.
Yeah.
But he seemed so calm and willing to play along. I mean, Goldman seemed agitated, but Kyle seemed calm when they went to go confront him, and he said he wanted to see Molly.
I don't think he knew Goldman was his father. But would you say that Goldman knew that he was that Kyle was his son?
I would say the opposite. I would say Kyle knew Goldman was his father, and that's why he was working Sanjay. But I would say Goldman was skeptical. He didn't believe it was his son because at first I thought Goldman had taken his wife's child when she had that accident.
Yeah.
But then as I kind of redigested it, I realized she was saying she had let him go and he got away somehow. So I think that they had considered that baby lost. Or Dr. Goldman had thought that it was lost. And he was suspicious whether it might be the real child until he saw, what happened with fake Molly and real Molly.
See, now that's an interesting question on who would have taken baby Kyle. Because it's a baby. It can't just jump up and run off. I know you saw the hand and everything, but it's not like the baby xenomorph that is going to smile and then leg it out of a room.
Yeah.
It's a human baby.
Mm-hmm.
And so I suppose Goldman didn't know about the crash, and so he wouldn't be able to get onto the scene at the time. And so really you have to think someone else is looking over this, or maybe orchestrated that crash to get hold of the baby. Maybe the DOD.
See, possibly. I expected it to be what was described in the first episode, that it was going to be that the Kyle's true birth mother attempted to flee. The government came and whether they caused the accident or recovered her from the accident and took the baby and made it look like she was insane and had her committed.
Mm.
Again, in rewatch, now I think that they didn't find Kyle's birth mother until after she'd released Kyle, and they genuinely believed that she had killed the baby and had her committed for that reason. And they said that Kyle's, we'll call her stepmother, they kind of challenged her and said, "What? You found her? You found him? Where did you find him? By the scene of the accident?" And I don't think she ever really explained. But I think Mulder and Scully think that she just happened upon him.
Could have. Could have. And then left the mum for dead. And then raised him on her own. Intriguing.
Right. It was a weird thing, the way they depicted the baby, the hand crawling out. It reminded me of, like I said, one of those 80s movies, not Gremlins, was Ghoulies? Is that the one that had the little green monstery, look like a little green baby?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I pictured. And I pictured kind of like you said, like the xenomorph, kind of animated, like looking left, looking right, scurrying across the street, hiding in the woods. It just seemed too developed to be communicating with the mother, to be crawling out like that, almost like a hatchling.
Really? Okay.
Like in the way that, like a baby chick or something can function differently than a newborn human can. So perhaps it got some distance away, got protection. Like the way the birth mother said, I knew what I needed. He wanted me to free him. It was as if the baby was aware of the threat it was under.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, to get away from Goldman himself. Because,
So
well,
go ahead.
the baby was there at the time, in the mother's stomach, but when the mother cut Goldman's arm, maybe it would be able to sense that sort of catastrophe that's going on around it. See, we're talking about, like, DNA aliens here. So,
Well, that's part of that confusion for me, whether it's a sonic power or a psychic power. If it was psychic, then I would feel like it could read Dr. Goldman's intentions. It knew it was in danger. It could communicate sentiment without being able to communicate verbally. But it's not a big hang-up for me, but it's just something that I'm confused by. And I'm kind of hoping that this means Kyle and Molly will get some extended play over the next couple of episodes, and not that we're going to get a whole backstory, but it won't just be like they broke out and next week we're seeing a different hospital where different experiments are happening, and we don't see them until possibly the finale.
I don't think we're going to see them again.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah. See, Molly also seemed to have a lot of powers as well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she had the skill of breathing underwater, which was proved when the mum dived into the swimming pool to grab her daughter, which had been under the water for quite some time. And so, she's fully racked up with powers. She's a proper X-Men.
Well, why are Kyle and Molly, for lack of a better word, normal? Whatever mutation was done to them, they seem a healthier, more powerful version of us, as opposed to the rest of the patients who are younger and yet seem like failed trials. If Molly was such a success, why isn't it being replicated?
Okay. The first girl that Kyle went to, he was told that was Molly.
Yes.
Was that a clone of Molly?
She looked different enough that they weren't twins.
Right. Because they were dressed the same, they had the long black hair the same, they wore it over their face. Similar. But that confused me a little bit, whether it was a clone or whether it was just a completed
misdirection.
Yeah, like a misdirection. But I suppose with the same mother producing two healthy fetuses, in inverted commas, compared to the other babies and children that they had in the ward, where they had lots and lots of different ailments that they were going through, which I suppose a doctor trying to create the perfect human-alien hybrid would want a baby that could blend into the general public without standing out abnormally, the way that the children that were locked up seemed to be.
See, I was confused. Agnes said that they were all told that their babies were sick, and that's why they were there.
Mm.
And my impression was they weren't really sick. They were just being told that so that they would be in the hospital and give the babies up. And then it was also the way when Agnes died, the baby was removed from her. That's what led me to believe something similar had been done in Kyle's case.
Yeah.
So, I feel like there was a lot of suggestion, that the DoD is in control of this, or a large organization, this group, the Syndicate, which I'm guessing is something that's been part of the entire mythology all along.
Yeah, I think there's a deal on the table. I think it was mentioned in the first movie as well.
Okay.
A deal on the table about cooperation and DNA splicing. I could be wrong. I probably am wrong. Let's move on.
Well, I had seen a link in one of the like X-Files wikis, kind of describing the Syndicate, and it's more than just the little bit that Mulder refers to, and I guess they're referred to in a number of episodes. With this idea of creating a super race of a higher evolution, a better version of humans.
Mm.
So I don't know if that's going to be what comes into play. I know Mulder suggests it, but it's tough for me not knowing the whole history of the X-Files series, and also kind of getting the impression that they threw out a lot of the mythology, or at least said, yeah, all the aliens, yes, but it's Earthbound foes are who we're going to be fighting here.
Yeah.
Like, I would be very surprised if we find in episode 5 that there's an alien governor who's manipulating behind the scenes. I think this is all going to be power hungry humans.
I think so too. I think this is just going to be the government working to make a super baby or super humans and using alien DNA. You're not going to see any alien kings or queens coming down and saying, okay, thank you very much for creating these babies, and now we'll be off. Yep. You're not going to see that. I don't think we're going to be seeing that.
Now, what did you think of the dream sequences that, I guess Scully's was mid-episode, and we actually ended with Mulder's, didn't we?
Yes, we did. I first time watching this, I was unsure whether these were actual flashbacks or not. Second time round, it's more clear that these are just pinings, maybe, and worries projected through their thoughts. These events did not happen.
Right.
The only reason I say that is because Mulder and Scully, they'd been to see Angus. They came out, and Scully was worried about being an incubator for what happened to her kid. And she said, William would be 15, and I've missed every single year of his life. And so they haven't seen their kid. They do not know what he looks like. These are just projections on their mind of what could have happened, what might have happened, and then all the visions start nice and then get a bit darker, don't they?
Right. And I think the fact that in Scully's vision he takes an alien form as he gets a little bit older, it kind of affirms that it's just a dream sequence. It's not something that actually happened firsthand for her.
Yeah. Yeah, with the black eyes. Did the the photo of the baby that they had of their son,
mm-hmm.
Did that have black eyes?
I don't remember it looking different. And I think even in their dreams, it's very normal. The boy's very normal until like teenage, like it would just be coming into effect now.
Yeah.
Any kind of evolution in his life.
Yeah.
It was a nice way to kind of tie them into the story. I thought it was a little heavy-handed. I'm not as familiar with the story, but at this point I feel like I get it, that she had a baby, they gave it up, they hope it's safe, but they worry that it's the result of these experiments. And I think they can be a little more direct and a little more terse with it in the future episodes.
Yeah, it was a little bit heavy-handed, I suppose. With flashbacks, I got used to having flashbacks when we were watching Lost.
Mm-hmm.
Before Lost, I wasn't a fan of flashbacks, and then I kind of had to accept them because it was one of my favourite TV shows ever. So you kind of got to go, well, okay, I guess I like flashbacks now. Still not a big fan of them because I feel it's kind of a cheat way of telling a story. But these, where they aren't really real flashbacks, but they are telling you what they are thinking could possibly happen.
Right.
It's also kind of heartbreaking because you have the scene where William and Mulder are sitting on the sofa, once again, watching 2001.
2001, yep.
And you get the feeling that Mulder's pining for that relationship to be pointing out, look, the monkeys and the monolith, and talking about that. And because he's a science geek, he loves all that sort of stuff. And so it is a little bit heartbreaking that he never really actually had that moment with his son.
What did you think of the things they chose to show each of the agents doing with William? Like, it's for Scully, it's all remember, Mom loves you no matter what, and it's okay, you hurt your arm, I'll take care of you, you go to the hospital, we'll protect you. And Mulder's watching 2001, building rockets, quoting Kennedy. It's a different aspect they were sharing with the boy's life for each of them.
Yeah, definitely. It was with Mulder, you had the intrepid explorer kind of thing going on with him. The visionary that wants to find and learn about this sort of stuff, and it could possibly happen. Whereas you had the more grounded Scully, and a cliche kind of thing of, okay, let's let the mum take the kid to school. And, oh, look, my son has broken his arm. I will help you, and I will try and fix you and try and repair it. And the worry was projected through when the eyes turn black, and then you realise, hang on, you can't do anything about that.
Do you think that's more a comment on who they are, or what they're looking for, what they're hoping for in life?
I think it's
who they are. I think that's like Scully seems to be someone who wants to be, we'll say, normal and grounded. And I guess since she's been brought into the X-Files, her life has been affected in this way. There's aliens in her life now. It's happened to her. Yeah.
She's becoming a believer.
Yeah.
But I think that's, like you say, it's more of a projection of who they are.
Right, not what they hope for.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What other scenes do we have that we can dive in? Oh, well, can I just jump back to when Dr. Sanjay had killed himself?
Yes.
We had the DOD kind of stopping Mulder and Scully in their tracks. Mm-hmm. And they stopped him about 2, 3, 4 times within this episode. Yep. Every time they try and get close to something, bang, these guys jumped in and stopped it. So these are going to be the men in black that we're looking at.
Yes.
But Skinner was there, looking handsome behind his desk again, as per normal. And he really wants to help these guys. He knows that corruption is going on. He said about the bureaucracy, and, well, I expect your files to be in, but the bureaucracy and everything else that's hindering this investigation, it might take a couple of days. In other words, you guys go off, fill your boots, do what you want. I'm trying to give you as much time as possible, which is good to see from him. It is now a team of 3, which is great to see.
And so, they are a division of the FBI?
Yeah.
And they are the X-Files, the two of them. They are the X-Files agents, just the two of them under the auspices of the FBI, reporting to Skinner.
Yeah.
Because it seems kind of like should be easy to shut down. It's not like they're doing anything else other than investigating this. In this case, I don't know if I can phrase it better, but like, what does the DoD think they're going to do? This is their sole field of study at the moment.
Well,
Is
I think
the DoD.
the DoD must have. They will have connections with the cigarette smoking man,
Right.
and as we saw at the end of last season, last episode, where he turned around and said, "Okay, fine, they reopened the X-Files, and he knows that Mulder and Scully are going to be on this, and so." With his history with them, he knows that they're going to delve deep and they will not stop until they get questions answered. And I feel the DoD are there trying to nip it in the bud before it actually happens. And yet, Mulder is one step ahead of them, taking top copies, taking other copies, and taking Dr. Sanjay's phone.
Yeah, I just feel like they know what happened in episode 1 and what they've been exposed to and what they've seen. He's seen the alien replica vehicle. They've spoken to the truther. They've been at this hospital. They've been to see Dr. Goldman's facility a number of times in another number of capacities. They know something is going on. It seems like by next episode, they should be basically completely on the run, like unable to go back, like that type of almost like a James Bond, where Q would say, officially, MI6 there's a kill order on you, but James, stay 6 feet ahead of us, and I'll keep leaking information so you can stay on the run and do what we secretly want you to do.
Yeah, James, I'll fit you with a tracking device again.
Yes.
Every movie gets fitted with a tracking device, and you think, oh, come on, stop with the tracking device. Oh, you've ripped out the tracking device. Well, hey, have something to swallow and go round your bloodstream. Oh, you've peed it out. Never mind.
Well, they're nitpicky things, but it just, again, not knowing the characters that well and kind of looking at it more with a 2016 eye, that just TV shows now generally can't get away with some of the silly pretenses they used in the past of how two people ended up together. Or, like I mentioned Remington Steele last time. There's no way he'd be a detective in a Today episode. Or
no.
There's a handful of those 80s crime fighting teams that, no, there's no way they'd fly today. And this just seems like that they should be at the point now where they're going to have to go on the run, and it's going to be the two of them against the world, maybe with some on the side assistance from Skinner. Although they seem to try to make an effort this episode to show that things have come a long way from episode 1. They're in the office, they're up to speed, they're got their full clearance, and they're full-fledged agents on the move now. She's no longer a doctor by day; she's an agent by day now. And
yeah, that's true.
Mulder looks all cleaned up, and he's got his things together. I'm curious how long it is supposed to be. I think you're right; probably about a month. But it seems like things should have happened between the end of episode 1 and the start of episode 2.
I don't know. I think you're talking a couple of weeks, possibly a month, for this. I think that's a perfectly acceptable time frame for this to happen. They're going to be sent on other little investigations every now and again to fill in that time. But then they're going to be something. They're going to be mundane. They're going to be the fluffy stories in the in the top shelf rags that nobody really reads.
I guess maybe because it's 6 episodes, and I know that, or maybe because it's just the style of TV lately has been like serial and connected and all. I was expecting much more of the threat posed in episode 1 to be a prevalent part of all the subsequent episodes. And although it is I'll say, tangentially associated here, it feels like it's a coincidence that they've stumbled on what could be another instance of the syndicate, or there just was no mention at all of, hey, we were just talking about this with a woman who claimed the DoD was stealing her baby, and she's disappeared, and the man who led us to her has disappeared. I get this sense online that people are very happy with this episode, and that it's better than the first, and it's welcome back to the Monster of the Week, and has that hint of the mythology in it. For me, looking at it, it's a 6-episode miniseries, basically a 6-hour movie.
Yeah.
I didn't see this advancing that main conflict the way I expected it to. And it may all come back, but I'll be curious to see if the next episode is just another run-in with something strange that, oh, look, this monster was an orphan. And it's just another example of someone who may have been affected by this program, or if it's going to be like them focusing on connecting some dots here.
Yeah, I suppose they should have mentioned about what happened to Sveta.
Yeah.
I suppose they should have mentioned that, oh, this is a coincidence, babies being taken out of their stomachs. But then again, she was being tested on, wasn't she? So this could be a development of what has happened. It could be two strains of
Two
military,
factions, yeah,
working maybe together, maybe not together, working against each other. Kind of an arms race.
It could be, and that may all play out perfectly well. I'm a little worried with only 4 hours left to go to be branching off. I would feel more confident in where it's headed and the resolution it'll present had there been some connection, like Sveta she had stayed in the hospital. As they're looking through the records, they see her picture or her some connection, something more than the nature of the victims is the same.
She should have been on the board that Dr. Sanjay had in his flat.
Right. Or
that makes me want to go back and look at that board again now.
I don't think she was, because she wasn't. She wouldn't be the child; she'd be the carrier. But I'm trying to recall. I'm sure I looked away and cringed, but I picture her stomach looking like Swiss cheese, like it had a bunch of drill holes almost in it.
Yeah.
So that's different too. Like they made it sound, or she made it sound like they kept impregnating her and taking the baby, like that she had born or incubated, we'll say, 8 or 9 fetuses over the years.
Yeah, and not a single stretch mark.
No, just giant holes.
Yeah.
So that is different. But again, I feel like if there had been a little bit more commonality to it, I would feel more confident. I thought the episode was entertaining. I thought it was complete. There were a lot of parts to it that I liked. I liked the dots to connect. The part I liked the least was probably the dream sequence-y flashbackness.
Yep.
But it was good, and it probably was more enjoyable to watch than the first one, but I feel like the first one was a more practical part of a 6-hour run than this one was so far.
I get where you're coming from, but I feel X-Files is the mythology and the monster of the week, and it's trying to keep everyone happy. And this week had a bit of both. It had the mythology just sprinkled in there, but you had your monster that you could deal with and could see, and I thought it worked really, really well. I understand your disappointment between it not linking all together and whether it should or not, because I'm guessing they couldn't just have a 6-week mythology-a-thon. I don't think the hardcore X-Files fans would have stood for that. You want your Monster of the Week, and so they're going to throw these in. But I felt it worked really well with the combination of the two, even to points where I didn't mind this new thing of, well, from my point of view, Scully pining for the child and worried about the child. I don't know whether that's a new thing or not, but it's new to me and it's drawing me in, and so they're doing a good job for it. It's working for me. You know, these stories have to draw a new audience in as well. Otherwise, they're not going to survive. You're not going to survive on people that are 40, 50, 60 who enjoyed the X-Files in the 90s.
See, I would, if it was a reboot or a re-release of the show, I would completely agree with that. But because it's just 6 episodes, like if it was 6 with the possibility of more, or even, as you mentioned in the last episode we did, you kind of expect it to end with a cliffhanger. That would be disappointing to me because I'm not sure I want to make that investment. If it's just supposed to be another chapter in the 20 to 30 year storytelling of the X-Files and its characters, I could see that. Or if they were hoping that this would turn into a full season and possibly and they're hoping to get renewed and things like that, then I absolutely agree. You want to build an audience and a hit for everybody, and you worry about what you might lose if you focus strictly on telling the story. But then I'm looking at it, like I said, is with knowing it's 6 episodes and kind of making the investment in it, I'm hoping it's going to be a complete story, or at least a complete enough that it doesn't leave me saying I need, as much as they might want it to be, I don't want to say that I need them to tell more because it just too much was left unanswered. I feel like they might not get there if they meander too much.
I think you're going to have a good chapter of the story in these 6 episodes. I think when we look back on it after the 6th, and we've had our Slenderman episode, because damn it, I want a Slenderman episode. Either that or a what's the other computer game? Five Nights at Freddy's. I want a Five Nights at Freddy's episode as well, because that would be great. But I think when we look back on it, I think we'll be happy with what's happened there and feel like, okay, that was a good story, good rounded story. It leaves a cliffhanger, which I like. I personally like the cliffhangers because it invests me into thinking about it more. If it's a nice little bow at the end of it, I kind of feel, okay, that was their story. I wanted to finish it my way in my head. I'm quite happy with the cliffhangers. So I'm very happy with the way it's going at the moment.
Right. Well, let me ask you to make some predictions a little bit of where you think it will go. Do you think that by the end of the 6 episodes, we will know where William is?
I think we'll have someone who knows where William is.
So you don't think then that he will be with Scully or definitively be dead? It'll be just that they're a little bit closer to finding him.
Yeah, someone will know some information about it.
See, I don't know if that'll be satisfying for me. That's especially with the emphasis of that babies are being experimented on. But you'd be okay with that?
Yeah, I've got a massive grin on my face right now, just thinking about that.
All right. Do you think at the end of the 6 episodes, the X-Files division is still intact?
I don't know, because they seem to break this up more than the proverbial pop band nowadays, so really.
50-50, it could be disbanded and they could be on the run, or...
I hope it's not disbanded.
All right.
They can't break it up again.
Do you think either Mulder or Scully is done with this? They walk away from it. Even if the agency's still intact, Scully goes back to medicine, or she goes with William, or she, or Mulder, or one of them is dead, or somehow removed from the picture. Like, do you think both are full-fledged agents? Bring on season 12 and another 23 months for the week episodes because it was so popular.
I don't think either of them will die. I think they'll both be there, and I don't think either of them will turn their back on it. They've already stated that in the first episode. I don't think they'll turn their back on it. Whether I want another 23 episodes of season 11 coming up, I do not know. That might be a bit too much. I kind of like the 6 episodes.
Like a 24 type mini extension. Like give them 10, 12, something like that. Fill in and the...
Yeah, I think 12 episodes is enough. 24 is a bit too much.
Do you think any of the peripheral characters we've had, other than the Smoking Man, Skinner, Mulder, Scully, I'm trying to think if there's anyone else, do you think any of them will be seen in at least 2 more episodes, at least half the remaining episodes?
Oh, I don't know about half. I think that Tad... Is it Tad? Tad O'Malley?
Kyle? Oh yeah, the I know who you mean, Joel.
YouTube
yeah.
fan. I think he'll turn up again. I'm hoping
alive
he'll turn
or
up.
Dead? Like where he is, or he'll be alive?
I think he'll be alive, because I'm pretty sure in thinking that Mulder had an inside man called Deep Throat. Sure, it was called Deep Throat, and he was his inside man, and I think this Tad might become that inside man.
Do you think we'll see the Roswell doctor again?
No.
Well, see, I don't know. It's weird because he said, "I told you to come to me when you had it figured out," and he told Mulder he was close.
That could be the final scene in episode 6.
Pulls the hood back, and you see the alien brain with a second head attached to the shoulder.
I wasn't thinking that, but yeah, sounds good to me.
Yeah. Do you think we will see an alien, a living adult alien, as a character interacting? Whether he's in a meeting or on a video scope talking to someone, or
no,
this will be all humans and hybrids.
No, I think that's far too in your face. If you're going to see an alien, it'll be walking past a door in shadow, and it could be interpreted as another human. Was it an alien? Was it a human? That's the closest you're going to get, I think.
Are all the X-Files aliens generally humanoid? Like bipedal and...
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, okay. I'm just curious.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it would make sense from what I've heard. And do you think we'll see any action then off Earth? Whether it's humans on a ship somewhere or on a colony somewhere. It's all Earth-based.
Yeah, all Earth-based. This is humans splicing with DNA. I don't think we'll see anything like that at all. But I'm confident and I'm happy with what's going on at the moment.
I'm trying to figure... I think I'm expecting it to lead to a conflict of some sort, like a full-fledged us versus them kind of thing, trying to figure out who's on what, how big each army is. Is it Mulder, Scully, Kyle, Molly, and a few other, and William versus an army of brainwashed alien babies, or is it going to simply be almost like a political takedown?
I know where you're thinking, and I know what you're thinking with building up the sides. I don't think it's going to go like that at all. No. I think it's just going to be the investigations carrying on. Because at the moment we know that the military have got hold of alien technology. They are doing experiments and they are splicing away with DNA. This episode today could be a branch of that splicing and that experiment. I hope to see a little bit more, but then again, if you show too much of the monster, then it becomes less of a monster, and I'm happy with what I've got at the moment.
So you think the resolution will be them slapping cuffs on the director of the DoD and show him a file of paperwork that is it? You're shutting you down?
No. I think the DoD would carry on as they are. I don't think there'll be any arrests or anything like that. The smoking man will carry on smoking and manipulating from high above. I think he's got so much weight behind him, politically, and even with people with just bloody big guns. He's got all that power there, and yet he can't shut the X-Files down. They need to be shut down from within, and I don't think Skinner is gonna do that. He knows that something is up. He's got the two best people that he's worked with working on the case, and when it crops up, he knows that they'll be in position to work out what's needed to be done.
All right. So I'm enjoying it, and I don't mean it to sound like I'm bashing the show. I'm just trying to get a handle on how your expectations are different than mine. Like how would you need the finale to be different than this episode, in the sense of it had something happened. Scully and Mulder came in. They calmed the situation, and at the end, it's left fairly open-ended. Like, you mentioned there'd be no arrests or something? No one's going to be toppled. It's going to continue to go. The DoD is going to continue going about their business. So, for the finale to be satisfying for you, what other element does it have to have that wasn't in like a typical Monster of the Week episode leading there? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. What I would like to see, I suppose, I want to see more of the Smoking Man's involvement, where he fits into the pecking order, what he's bringing to the table, and who he's dealing with. And I'd like to see a bit more involvement from him and maybe the people he's actually dealing with, and who is actually given the yes and no contracts out to go do this, to go do the harvesting. Because imagine if this actually happened in real life.
Mm-hmm.
How many people would be involved in the harvesting? How many people had to be silenced for the harvesting? And where would that order come from?
So, if I'm understanding right, you're looking at this as like a tree they're on one branch working their way toward the trunk. You want the Smoking Man, or you want to find out who's at the core, and is it each Monster of the Week type conflict they have will be with a higher stakes group closer to the central, bringing them closer to the center, and when they finally get there in the finale, they might shut down that hub, but like the Joker at the end of the second Batman movie, he gets away.
Possibly. I don't think I want hints at who's in the center. I don't want to meet that person, because then you have a finite people to go through, and then you've met the last person. It's kind of meeting the last boss in a video game. Kind of, if you're enjoying the game, you just want to carry on and on and on. You don't really want to meet that last boss. And I feel you won't see that, because then that gives you an end point at the moment. I don't think this is ready for an end point. We're only 2 episodes in already.
Yeah.
They had 9 seasons and 2 films to hit that end point, and they didn't hit that. So there's no reason to have 6 episodes and then hit it. That won't happen.
See, I'm wondering, do they have enough time to introduce anyone who could be at the center, other than the smoking man. That the only potential villain we've seen so far is him. And I don't know if you have time to develop a plausible alternative as someone who could be pulling the strings. I don't find myself like we're not sitting in this episode trying to figure out, trying to guess what's going on the way we used to do with Lost. Well, so who's really in control of the Dharma Initiative, and what's really is Jacob good or is he bad, and who's the Smokey? There were things that we were left with plausible interpretations going all different directions, and I feel like with this we're kind of watching it play out. But the cast of characters so far, like we said, it's been 3 good guys and one bad guy only seen fleetingly of any gravitas, we'll say. Mm. So I'm curious to see what they do, whether it's going to lead toward them closing in on him and whether he gets away or not, or will they use the next episode or two to kind of bring in another party?
No, I don't know. I suspect you might be a bit disappointed in the next 4 episodes.
Well, I don't know. It's kind of been presented to me like it was like a miniseries. So I mean, I expect it to be somewhat open-ended, but I don't expect it to be as if I just turned on and watched the first or like the middle 5 episodes of season 6.
Yeah, see, I think we've been given enough information to get us in there. I don't think we've been given enough information like we were in season 3 of Lost. Mm-hmm. We haven't got that weight of information from this new batch. And so I'm not expecting that just yet. Maybe at the end of this miniseries, we will find out who the Smoking Man is talking to, why he's disappointed that the X-Files has opened up again, and what they're dealing with, and who is giving the orders to splice this DNA. Where is it coming from, as well? So, is it all just coming from that little green man that they killed in Roswell? Is all of that DNA from there?
What Scully said, they traced all the European men back to 3, their Y chromosomes back to 3 individuals from the Bronze Age.
Nah, see, there's your little clue.
Yeah. Yeah, I am looking forward to watching it, and whether it turns out to be just popcorn entertainment or deep thinking, it doesn't make a difference to me. It was clear to me that we have different expectations for it, and I'll be interested to see if it can meet both, or if it's which way it ends up going to.
I think
it seems to have elements of both.
Yeah, I think one of us is going to be sorely disappointed.
Well, I hope it's me then, because I'm not as invested in it as you are. But it's and because the stakes are much lower for me. It's I'm watching it to watch it. Just whatever it is, it is.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, should we call time on this episode?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
I think we've got a lot to look forward to.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for listening to us waffle on about Founders Mutation. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to try and find out. Right, the next episode. Okay. Should we give a little hint on what the next episode is?
Sure. I know what it's called, but go ahead.
Oh, okay, fair enough. It's called Mulder and Scully Meet the Weremonster.
Ooh. Featuring Scooby-Doo and Shaggy, and it'll be Old Man Wilkins wearing a mask.
Oh no, a weremonster. Okay, so I'm guessing that this is going to be another Monster of the Week.
And I would assume a mutated offspring of somebody. But we'll have to see.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Have you seen it yet?
No.
Okay.
I will wait until you're ready to watch it, and we'll watch it in sync.
Okay, cool. Well, have you got anything to plug or any Twitter things that you'd like to put out there for these wonderful ladies and gentlemen that are listening to us right now?
No, I'll simply encourage those who are so inclined to go back and if they are fans of Lost, to go in and check out our old podcast, Rethinking Lost. And if they're just more interested in random chit chat, to go and check out Apotheosis of a Bombast, both of which are on iTunes, both of which are, I believe, highly reviewed on iTunes. So go ahead and check that out and read what nice things people thought about us.
Yeah,
and check those out.
I recently heard that there's 25 reviews on iTunes on the US store for
It was something
Rethinking
I
Lost.
was going to mention to you. That there's got to be a way, an app or something that can let you see all the reviews on all the iTunes pages.
Yeah, there
Because,
is. There is. I
know I've poked around at some point and put in different nationalities to see what people were saying, and I know Apotheosis of a Bombast especially had fans in a number of countries, and each of them have their own iTunes pages, so
yeah,
it's a challenge.
I shall let you have that information later on.
All right, well, make sure I want to see it. If there's people who don't like us, I don't want to.
Cool.
Right.
I am going to plug Shonky Lab, which is at shonkylab.com. It's .com now, not .co.uk. .com. I talk about weird and wonderful stuff on there, ranging from biscuits. There's a spaceship episode. There's an aliens episode. There is roller coasters. There's arcades. There's the films of 2016, the upcoming movies there. It's all on there. Please pop along to shonkylab.com. And also, I'm going to announce it here. Why not? We have a Patreon. I think it is Patreon. Where you can go to patreon.com/Rogue2Media, and you can either donate or help us pay for new shows to come up. There are a couple of goals on there, which I'm quite happy to fulfill. One being me reviewing the first season of Star Trek, if we get to a certain level. And Scott will know that it's not my thing. It's not that I hate Star Trek, it's just not my thing, but I'm willing to do that for the entertainment value that I could put out there for everyone else. So please think about popping over there. Reviews on iTunes are always welcome for all the shows, especially this one, because we want to get that up there and just get it out to as many people as we can. So if you could spread the word, that would be great. And I think I'll wrap it up there, and we'll see these men and ladies next time.
Yes, thank you for listening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello everyone, welcome to Rethinking the X-Files. I'm Elton, and I'm down in the depths of the FBI, along with my good friend, Mr. Scott Copperman. How are you, Scott?
I'm very good, not so down in the depths. I'm kind of surface level here, cruising and waiting to discuss what was a pretty good episode. Change of speed, change of pace, a lot of things to talk about, I think, this week.
Oh yeah, definitely. Wow, have you got a horse in your room?
I do. I have a horse in my room. Actually, I was just thinking, I wonder if you'll hear my computer in the background, and I think you will. So I'll have to...
Wow.
Let me see if I can mute it in some way. That wasn't me. That was you.
Yeah, that was my phone going off. Yeah, it must be like Skinner or someone like that requesting my...
You know what? It's the old America Online Instant Messenger, and I guess someone has it, like... It makes announcements when they come on. there must be some default sound that's like a little ping or something, but people can customize it.
Yeah.
And I haven't figured out who it is, but there's some. I'll put friend in finger quotes that I have that has that horse sound, and it's like, oh my god, what is that? But I was afraid to mute it because I thought I might lose you, but it sounds like it's all under control now. So we can do take 3 now if we're ready.
No, I'm just going to carry on. No, that's good. I'm good with that.
That sounds good.
Okay, so we're here to talk about Founders Mutation, Season 10, Episode 2. I'll give you the synopsis that the IMDb page gives us. It says, a scientist working for the DOD commits suicide. Mulder and Scully start an investigation only to discover a secret mutation experiment. What did you think? What were your first impressions of this episode? Bearing in mind, we've just come off the premiere, and this was aired a day later. So you're kind of in...
It did give me what I had mentioned in our last episode I wanted to see from a show like this, that I wanted it to be seeds planted along the way that maybe you missed, and then when you get to the very end, you could have connected the dots had you caught things like the boy Kyle. There were a couple of scenes early on in that first third, which, as I said, we didn't feel like we were really into the mythology yet. I wasn't sure where this episode was going. I can look back now and see scenes in that first third that I kind of felt like were gratuitous. We didn't even really need to have. And now I realize, well, we were seeing Kyle as a janitor brushing up against Mulder, and we needed to have the scene with Gupta to kind of advance information in the story. There were different things that had come up that at first glance I was kind of wondering why we went through it, and then by the end of the episode I felt they definitely contributed in a big way.
Oh yeah. Were there any scenes that really impressed you in this episode?
Well, from a little wink kind of thing, I don't know if you caught in the hospital when, let's see, this would be, so Agnes was asking Mulder and Scully to help her get out, and then she, oh, never mind, I'm just kidding, and Mulder gives her his card.
Mm-hmm.
And on the TV in the background is a scene from Planet of the Apes where the ape family has just had a baby. It's the one, I think, where they're living. I thought it was a clever little... they could have put anything on the TV. I thought that was a clever choice of what to have on in the background for that scene.
I knew there was a TV in the background. I wasn't looking at it. Damn, why wasn't I looking at that? They always put stuff in the background for that.
Yep.
Oh, man. Good catch. It was really more of an investigation getting up to that point, which I thoroughly enjoyed.
Yes.
There were some really good shots in this movie. It almost felt like a TV movie to me.
Mm-hmm.
But there was some really, really good shots in there. The lighting was really good. It was nice and clean, but the light, I don't know what it was. It felt very clean. Maybe I'm used to watching The X-Files on VHS or the old DVDs, which haven't been cleaned up, and now watching it in the HD, as Mr. Jim Moon would say, pin sharp crikey vision. And it's, whoa, these colours are really good and really contrast really, really well. I'll give you an example. When they're in I can't remember his name now. The scientist's room, when they went to his true address, and then you saw the police lights outside.
Mm-hmm.
The
Sanjay,
the real red and blues flashing in the window. It was very, very vibrant, and it just felt, oh, that's so crisp and clear, and it's new X-Files, and I'm really enjoying it. So yeah, I'm all on board with this already. I'm disappointed that 2 episodes are already down, and that we've only got 4 left to go.
I agree with the visual aspect of it, because I actually thought you were going to mention when they were in the hospital. I felt like the color scheme, the palette, I guess they say,
Yeah.
everything was very appropriate, and it had a different feel. Maybe because the first episode was so dark, and there were so many special effects kind of integrated into the video, that maybe we were able to have just more pure footage, more uh, cinematography emphasis
Yeah.
in this episode. And we were talking originally about first impressions, and I mentioned to you I've actually watched it a couple times because I felt like I was missing something, and I was pleased that in a rewatch today, that things that I was a little puzzled by and I wasn't sure about kind of fell into place, and it.
In the X-Files, and they both just seem to click so well back in it. They're kind of back in their old groove. It was Mulder and Scully that I was watching on the screens, and I felt so at home and just so happy. And even with the preamble that they had before the credits, that scene, it's just, this was X-Files, but it has been ramped up and brought back into the 20 teens, and it felt so current, and yet it was still the old show, and I was so happy for that.
Yeah, I could definitely feel that original series run vibe. If not for a couple of somewhat blatant references to the year and the modernness of a lot of things in the episode.
Oh yeah.
It definitely felt like it could have been from season 5, season 4. It had that same flow. But I was, I've watched it a couple times, as we mentioned. I was struck though, like as I'm sitting here going, so we're not going to mention at all what happened at the end of the previous episode. We're not going to mention. It took a while to see the connection, because you didn't really get the reveal of the founder's work being on taking babies and mutating them, and possibly leading to what might have happened to Scully's baby. You didn't get that right away. It took, what do you say, about a third of the episode?
Oh, easy.
To really get in there. So for a while, it felt like, okay, so we're here. You hope there's going to be a connection, but it felt much more like it could be a completely independent episode until we hit that.
Yeah, I agree. It was around about the third part of this episode that it really ramped up and took its own form. In the zone for the X-Files, in the mood for them as well. So I suppose that would encourage people to get into this.
Well, I was struck immediately by the change of format. I wasn't completely caught off guard by it, because I know that's part of the style of the show, the Monster of the Week. But there was almost this feeling like, did I miss episode 1.5, somewhere in the middle? Because I can't tell you how much time has passed since episode 1. I'm guessing more than a month, but less than a year. I don't know. Things feel relatively settled and in a flow in the lives of Mulder and Scully, and they're back in the X-Files division. The several key characters from the first episode were non-existent in this one, not referenced in any way. They call it a standalone episode, and I could see many, many elements of that. I was pleased, though, to have that mythology element, that you can make a connection to the first episode, and I can kind of see, I think, where they're going with this 6-episode run. But I wouldn't say that I disliked it. It was entertaining, but it threw me. I'll put it that way. I was not expecting this drastic change of pace.
Okay. See, I was given the impression it was around about a month or so after what had happened in the premiere. I didn't feel like a long period had gone past. Obviously, they've all had psych analysis before they've gone back into the FBI. They're not just going to open their arms and welcome them in, give them a badge and send them on their way, are they? But I feel a little bit of time has passed. But this episode, with it being a Monster of the Week episode, the way I relayed it, it still had that mythology that flowed through it. But I felt, when I first saw the guys on the screen, the X-Files is here. I'm in.